part would be with genetic, looking at the ways of not necessarily, well, one of the ways would be gene therapy, but different ways of rejuvenating a person. Is that what you're?
Well, no, I mean, like from what I've read, they say they've kind of isolated this gene, which is kind of responsible for aging. You know, so if somehow we could modify the DNA to kind of in such a way that that gene didn't kick in. I mean, is that kind of an area that you're looking at?
Right, but then you have the problem with something of uncontrolled growth like cancer. I mean, it's like if you're, it's balancing things, I guess, making you want the cell to continue to be, or to be healthy, but not necessarily to grow out of control. I think that what the SINS Foundation does is looks at all of the ways that they're looking at more of the biological approach of what can be done, and that's not. It's more of that than maybe the transhumanists, or looking at what building a prosthetic body or doing uploading
I think there is some research on the Immortality Institute site about the gene therapy, and this is the book that Shannon helped to create, Scientific Conquest of Death, essays on infinite lifespans, and the first half is about the science of it, and so there's a chapter here by, I don't know this person, João Pedro de Magalhães, and he goes through various things like gene therapy, cell therapy, and then nanotechnology, the various practical means by which this might happen, before getting on to looking at modifying the brain itself. So, yeah, sure there are problems with the potential growth of bad aspects of gene therapy, but there's a huge amount of medical research on that. You have a question at the front?
How do you sort of integrate with existing, like, monolithic, you know, like GlaxoSmithKline? Do you work with them at all? Do you share research? Or
well, we've seen our role as being able to support people who aren't getting funding through traditional sources like that. So
do you get any research from them?
And that's what. No, no, we don't get research from them, but we use the SINS Foundation to sort of vet who we give our scholarship grant to. I mean, that's.
Question over there?
You mentioned cleaning cells out of products, like metabolic products, which is quite better.
A bit louder?
Do you have anything?
The laser. If you go to the Immortality Institute, there's the home page. There's an article about the 27,000 that was raised, and all. I mean, you can go very in depth into what that's doing.
There are methods even now which can help.
Are there methods?
Yeah.
Not that can help that we know that will help. They might help on a cellular level, but the body's integrated, and I mean, we have a whole system to. Yeah, and of course, there's one of the one of the most promising areas of protein folding, and we've the other thing I didn't mention that Immortality Institute, we've done a lot of things, but we've given an award to the person who devotes the most of the computer time to protein folding, and you just set up your computer to do that. And we've also set up awards, cash awards for essays and things. But yeah, go ahead.
So another area that sprung to mind where I've heard of immortality type stuff is the spiritual area. So I mean, I've never confronted one of these yogis who's meditated himself into a longer life. I just wondered if there's any, if you've heard of that, if there's if any research has been looked into, if you're considering spiritual type fixes as well.
Well, the fun thing about being at Immortality Institute over time, like I said, I was sort of, had gotten very busy with my life and wasn't active in the forums and not following things for a couple-year period. and then became very active again in, I guess it would be from '06 till now. And from time to, there is a component of spirituality or of happiness, and discussions about what is true happiness. You know, the studies that show that things like if you're, there was the one that if you write down what you're thankful for 10 weeks, every day you're 25% happier at the end. I mean, how do you rate what's happier? And that's, you know, just the person's mood. But what is happiness? What's going on in the brain? Of course, you know, the serotonin, and you've got your oxytocin, and you've got your dopamine, your reward, and you've got these different things that we have when we're happy. So there is talk about how you could use like an oxytocin spray to be happy, or but also that I was getting to the meditation as how it actually changes in the brain. You can, the same, I'm sure you've seen the study, like the Buddhist monks that had the same brain image as the nuns who were very devout, where you can turn off that spatial awareness that you have, so you're really feeling at one with everything, but you're turning that off, that part in your brain, the barriers that you normally have. I mean, it's just some very interesting things that, you know, looking at. So there are different ways that people attain that spirituality, but I think that a lot of people do look at, well, if you're going to live a long time, then you know how to be happy. You want to be happy while you're doing it, and you know.
I'm wondering whether through the practice of meditation you can extend your life.
Has anyone looked at that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
there is some data.
Increasing your
it generally
immune system.
it's not enormous, but generally feeling life is meaningful, relaxing, etc. That's good. So yeah, it does extend life. Huh?
yeah. But it's the same as other things. I mean, to do studies on what extends life in humans, it's really difficult because the amount of time that it takes, and the amount of money, and the amount, and I mean, just have people around there going to compile the data. You have to transfer everything to, I mean, it's such a long period you're going to go through 2 generations. But
there are
I
some
think we can
pointers
look
to some.
at.
Yeah.
We do a lot of studies on it. You know, what will, I think somebody had mentioned, what will a rodent choose to exclude any, you know, mating or food, like what's going on in their brain, and what happens in humans that have, when the same part is engaged, and when they're, for different reasons, if they have an addiction, or, I mean, yeah, or if they have a mental disorder, there are different things that go on. But I mean, the question about what the Immortality Institute would do is that, yes, people will talk about you know, what happiness is and how people are happy, or that aspect, and then also on the religious side, I think it's, you know, you follow. That's you've got to do what makes you happy, I guess.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pull the column into the questions now, because Shannon's been on her feet, covering a huge range of topics for very nearly 2 hours. So I think we should show a very warm round of appreciation. Thank you very much for such